Okay, let's just. Oops. Sorry about that. Let me just fast forward here. Okay, so we're going to talk about grouping now. So we're going to show you how we can control the styling or the appearance of a group. We're going to show you how we can group by date fields. In the past, we weren't able to group by a date field unless you converted that date field to a text field and use that in your group, but now we can handle date fields. We'll show you how we can group by one field but show another. So basically, you might want to control the sort order of your subtable, but you might want to display another field instead. We'll also show you how you can include a label in the subtotal row, and we'll show you how you can page break by group. So let's get into that demo. Okay. So here's my grouping section of my form, and what I want to show you here is how we can change the appearance. And actually, before I do that, I'll generate the document first, and then I'm going to jump into our configurator to show you how I did it. So I basically want to create a document and show you how we can do some advanced styling with our group header. So we're creating a similar document to before, but we added grouping to it. And what I wanted to show you here is how I can control the group, meaning I can control the background color, I can control the bolding of the text, I can control the color of the text. And as you can see, we're grouping by our project phase, which we have a planning phase, a development phase, and we also have a testing phase. So how did we actually do that? So I'm going to take us to the template that was used to generate this. And I'm actually going to open up our new configurator. And just one caveat here is I don't want to focus too much on the configurator because we're still in beta mode with it, but I do want to show you that some of these advanced features are going to be accessible through the new configurator. They won't be accessible through the old configurator. So I'm going to open up the new configurator. And again, it's a beta version of our configurator. And I'm going to show you how we get to the grouping section. So we have new tabs across the top. And I'm going to go right to the grouping section. And this is where I can control the styling of my group. So here I said I want to group it by the project phase field. I want to control the bolding. I want to change the header color, and I want to change the font color. And let's actually do that right now. Let's make it a red color. And I'm just going to save that formatting. Close this. Let's go back and regenerate that document now. So now you can see how we just changed that from black to red. And it was a simple couple of clicks to reconfigure that in our new configurator. And we can also adjust the alignment here. If you want to align this center, if you want to align it right, you can do that as well. So again, you have some flexibility in terms of how you're going to format this header. Okay, so all right, so now in our next step for grouping, we're going to show you how I can group by the date field. But I want to show a date-friendly field. So what I did was I created a text field on my task table just to format that date in a little bit nicer way. So I'm going to click on this one and generate a new document that's going to show us a couple of different variations in groups. So I'm grouping by the date field here. So this is just a simple, and I didn't style the header at all. I just wanted to show you how I can group by the date field. So I have a couple of tasks that are grouped, and I have a bunch that are underneath the same date. But maybe I want to kind of show that a little differently. Maybe I don't like that format. I want to show it a little bit nicer. So now I'm grouping by the date-friendly field. And you can see it actually looks nicer. But if you notice, there's a problem here. The sort went alphanumeric instead of by the date. So obviously it's not in that right format. The format that I want is by date. So this new option that we have now is you can group by a field, but you can show another field. So now I got this in the order that I want. I'm able to group it by this date-friendly field, but actually it's being grouped by the date field, but I'm showing the date-friendly field. So how did we do that? So I'm going to take us to that template, and I'm going to, so there's 3 configurations for this particular template. One that groups by date, one that groups by the date-friendly, and one that groups by the date and shows the date friendly. And I'm going to show you that one. So I'm going into our new configurator. I'm going to go to our grouping section. And as you can see here that I'm able to group by the activity date, but I wanted to show another field. So that's how I was able to control the sort order by this field, but display this field. And obviously it's going to show me all of the fields available to me from the task table. And that's the field that I created. And had I not, in one of the other configurations, you would have just seen this in the previous configuration. But in this case, I wanted to choose the date friendly field. And again, you have your formatting and so on for the grouping section. I'm not going to save that. Okay. So now the next step is I want to show you how we can page break by group, but also include a subtotal label. So let's close some of these windows here. All right, so I'm going to generate a document again with some grouping, but I want to page break by the phase. So I'm grouping by phase, but I'm also page breaking by phase. And if you also notice, I'm showing a constant subtotal label. You'll notice that right here. So my first phase is planning, and you'll notice that I page break because the next time I had a phase, which was development, I got a new page. But I also included in column 1 a little piece of text called subtotal, and I'm subtotaling this field here, duration in days. So I get to my next page, same thing, new phase, subtotal. My next page, new phase, subtotal. But what we can also do with this subtotal is maybe we want a subtotal, but we want to show some additional information, not just a constant value. So in this case, I wanted to show subtotal for and the group phase. So in this case, planning. In this case, development. And in this case, testing. So how did we do that? Let's go to that template. And you can see we have a couple subtable configurations here. You know what? Don't be afraid of these settings. This settings field, although there's a lot of, let's say, cryptic things going on in here, this really controls how Exact Forms Plus handles the data and grabs the data and formats it for you in the subtotal. So I know a lot of people look at this and they get a little scared, but there is some rhyme to the reason here behind this. But again, the configurator itself handles all of this, but we just want you to know that that's what this is for. And you do have to be careful with it, because if you do make some changes to it, it could mess things up and you'd have to start over. But there are some quick ways, and I know some of you guys know about how to do this, that you can come in here and just manually change some of these things to get the different styling that you're looking for. But let's go into this first configuration here. So this first one is I'm grouping and I'm page breaking, but I'm also showing a constant subtotal label. So let's actually go to that. So here's where I said I wanted to group by phase, but I wanted to include a page break after that group. In addition to that, I wanted to include some constant text or some static text in the subtotal row, and I wanted to include it in column 1. I could have changed it to column 2 if I wanted, but I just decided to show it in column 1. And I'm going to close out of this one. And I'm going to open up the second one. Now, if you notice this one, we showed something a little bit different in the subtotal label. So here we did the same thing. We grouped it by phase. We page breaked after each group. But instead of showing a constant value, we said we want to, in column 1, show the field subtotal label. So I checked off the checkbox, and I decided to choose the field that I wanted, which was subtotal label. And that field is just a simple formula text field that just concatenated the text subtotal for and the phase field. So that's how we do some advanced grouping. Let's go back to the presentation. Okay, so advanced subtables, that's our next category here. So I want to show you how we're going to do filtering using the new EFP config. And I know some of the, and even for us, sometimes the hardest part of configuring the subtable configuration is the filtering. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll show you how we can set the column header alignment. So in that, in the header row of the subtable, we allow you to change the column headers, but we never allowed you to control how it should be aligned. We do that now. We want to show you how we can display a subtable within another subtable. So maybe we want to pull some grandchild data into a document. I'll show you how to do that. We'll show you how we do repeating columns. And it's hard to explain what that is, and I'll show you what it is. It's probably easier. So we jump right into a demo on that. Okay, so advanced subtables. So the first thing I want to do is I want to show you how to filter. I'll generate the document first, and then we'll go into the configurator to show you what we did. So I have a document that I'm generating, and I want to filter by the status. So I only want tasks for the related project that are not started. So you can see I'm only pulling those in right here. But also, I control the column header alignment. As you can see, the task name is centered in this column. But also the data itself didn't follow that. So the data can be sorted, can be aligned in a different way than the column header can be aligned. So in this case, I centered the header, but I left justified the data. You can see a couple other ones too. Like these are both centered, so duration, the text, the column header is centered as well as the data. Let's see, this one here I actually right justified the date complete. There's no date complete, so you don't see the data in it, but you can see again right justifying here and left justifying. So you have a lot of flexibility in terms of justifying or controlling the alignment of the headers as opposed to the data. So let's take a look at how we did that. So I'm going to go to the template, and I'm going to open up the configurator. So I'm going to go to the filtering tab. So this looks very similar to our other our live configurator, but the difference is we're a little bit more intuitive on this side about how you want to grab build the different filtering predicates. So right now I'm saying I want the related project equal to record ID and status is not started. Let's remove those and let's rebuild them. So the first thing I want is on this side, this drop down here is going to be the fields from the subtable or the task table, because I have my master table as my projects and my subtable is my tasks. So I want to say, well, I know I have a relationship here, so I want related project, and I'm going to say where the related project is, and I want it to be equal to a field from the master table. That's what this means. And really what that means is I want it to be equal to the record ID. So really I'm rebuilding the relationship in a way, and I'm adding that filter. But I also want to add another filter because I wanted to say, well, I only want tasks where the status is equal to a constant value. It's equal to the value not started. And then I add that filter. And so I basically just rebuilt that filter that I showed you in this example. But one thing I also want to show you is what we did in the new configurator. And I want to build one quick here just to show you what we did. If I add a new subtable configuration with our new configurator, we prime that filter based on the table you select. So I have my projects table as my master, and I want to create another task configuration, and I want to choose the task table. If we go to the filter, it already primed that. So it basically read the relationship and primed it for you. So you don't have to build that out anymore. But I wanted to show you how originally you're supposed to build it out. But from now on, we're kind of guessing at what it should be. Now, if there's multiple relationships in a table, well, we'll be showing a drop down of the relationship so you can choose the one that you want to model this off of. But this is one of the enhancements that we think is going to be pretty valuable because we know that this is a little bit complex on the filtering side of things. I just wanted to kind of show you how we're doing that in the new configurator. I don't want to save that one. I just wanted to show you that. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is how we can do a subtable within a subtable. So basically, I wanted to show some of my tasks down below have activities. So I have my project that has tasks, and each task has a series of activities. So I want to show all of that in one document, and I want to do it in a subtable and a subtable. So let me generate the document first, and then we'll see how we set it up. Okay, so here we can show all the tasks for a project and their related activities. So here's my project, here's my list of tasks, and here's only those tasks that actually had some activities. And you can see I actually use that same type of grouping and formatting that we showed you before. So you can see we have a couple of activities, phone call and email, some description related to it. And if the task didn't have any activities, I actually put in that wording there so we know it doesn't have any activities. And we have another one down here as well. So that's one way to create a document and include subtable within a subtable. So let's see how we did that. So let's go. Now, what I want to point out here is this field here is really, this is controlling the document, the subtable within a subtable. And before I said that, I want you to be afraid of the settings field because this is the settings field, but I just pulled it into the task table into the activities field. So if I go to that template, you'll see field ID 137. I'm going to blow this up a little bit here. At the end of the C list, you'll see that there's field 137, which is right here. But I'm going to actually go into the configurator and show you that. So in my list of fields that I wanted to include in that subtable, I included this, let's say, more advanced field, which is going to show us it's going to create the subtable within the subtable. Bear with me for a second here while this loads. It's on one of our dev servers too, so it's beta and it's not on a fully robust server. I'm going to kill it and try it again. All right. Just going to try. Oh, wait. Unavailable. Let's try that one more time. I'm just going to load another browser. Okay, here it comes. Sorry about that. Okay, so what I wanted to show you was on my field list, there's field ID 137. That's actually the task activities field. And I'm only including 3 fields in that subtable within a subtable, and it's just the task name, status, and the activities, which is field 137. But if we take a look at that actual field, let me pull up my browser here. This is actually field 137. And it was basically built, I actually created my own task activities subtable configuration. And really in this template, I created a dummy template record because I really just wanted to generate this subtable string. And it was really just pulling the tasks to the activities. And then I took this string, I just copied it and pasted it back into this field. But the thing is, I couldn't just leave it like that because I needed to, as you can see, as I blow this up a little bit here, I need to vary this field right here. Whoops, sorry about that. I'm sorry I'm bouncing around. It's what I needed to do is vary this where clause. So it's really saying I want to grab where field 12 is equal to 78, and you see the one below is 77, and you see the one below that is 75. So really, this is the formula field that generates that. So I pulled this out of there just to show you that I'm saying if there are some activities, then I want to pull this data right here from this table, and I'm building this query like this. So that because I need to really really build out the task ID so that it matches this. If I didn't do that, then we wouldn't get the results that we were looking for. But again, if there's no activities, we show the words no task activities. So let's go back down here. So that's how we did the subtable in the subtable. And the next advanced feature of subtables I want to show you is repeating columns. So I'm just going to generate the document first. It's easy to explain once it's generated. So I have a relationship between a table called projects and items. So I have a list of items that I want to appear, and sometimes the list might grow and get pretty big. And as you can see, I have a lot of white space that's kind of wasted here. So maybe it'd be nice to actually show this in 2 columns instead of in 1. So that's what I did here is I did that same thing, and I created a repeating subtable grouping. Well, it's not really grouping, it's just a repeating subtable configuration that now does that. So it's taking 1001 and 2, and it's pulling both of those columns. You can see up above that we have 2 columns that we're showing. And we're basically splitting that table in half by doing it this way. So this is what's called repeating columns. So I said I wanted to repeat the columns twice. Here's the first repeat, sorry, and here's the second repeat. One of the other nice things, and a lot of my customers use this, is you can also turn the borders and headers off too. So if you didn't want it to show up in a group like that or in a table like that. So down below, I did the same exact thing, but I said I didn't want the headers or borders to appear. So this looks maybe a little cleaner. And again, it's another option so that you don't have to, it doesn't look like it's in a table when it actually is in a table. But I'm going to show you actually how we generated this repeats, and then we'll actually create a third one. So let's go to that template. And down below, here's the repeating. I'll do the third one. We'll do three columns. So I'm going to go into the configurator, and let's hope it loads a little quicker this time. Okay, here we go. Okay, so for repeats, I'm going into my subtable formatting options. So down below, I'm saying, well, I have my configuration set up, but I want to repeat it twice. That's what this one is doing. If I want to repeat it a third time, and you can repeat up to 10 times, that's the max. So let's say we wanted to repeat it 3 times. So I wanted 3 columns here. That's all I have to do, and I hit save. And now when I regenerate that document, the third page should have 3 columns. First page will have 1, second will have 2, and the third will have 3. Actually, you know what? And I didn't. Here's one thing about the configurator that we just saw in this test is it didn't keep the values for my turning off the borders and headers. So let's go back in there and do that. That's why I put the word beta after it. So see these check boxes? We need to turn those off. Now let's generate that document again. So the third page should have 3 columns, but no borders and headers. Okay, much better. But that's a good way to take advantage of the real estate on the document if you only have minimum data that you want to show, but you want to show it in columns rather than down in a listing style. Okay, so that's our advanced subtables. Let's go back to the presentation. Okay, so repository. So there might be some times where you might have a common table that you want all your documents stored in. So instead of generating exact forms plus documents and storing them in the table that the documents generated from, you might want to store them in some other table. And we have a lot of customers that might have 4 or 5 different types of documents that they're generating from one table, and they don't want to have 4 or 5 different file attachment fields. They want to have one file attachment field in another table. So that's why some people will choose this option. And you can do an add record. So when you click that button and you generate the document, you want to add it to that documents table or separate table. And it'll also update. So if you made a change and you don't want to add another record into that table, you want to update the existing one, we allow you to do that. As well as we allow you to update with a special key. So if it's not just by the relationship and you want to have a special field that connects the two tables, you can update with a special key. So let's go into that demo. Okay. So again, here's the standard projects table, and here's the normal file attachment field that we've been using. But I have a documents table, and I have a relationship between my projects and documents table, and I want to store the documents there instead. So I'm going to click this button, and I want the document to go into the documents table. And I want it to be related back to this project record. So let's do that. So this one is in add mode, so obviously it's going to add a document to that table. So it generates the document, and again, it's a standard document we've been working with. Okay, there it is. And now I come back here and I refresh my screen. You see that I have a record now tied back to the project that's not in this document table. It's not in the same table. It's in the documents table. And let's go there and let's look at the revisions because I want to show you how we can update. So we have one revision for that document. Again, sorry for bouncing around. So here I want to click the button and generate another document and store in a repository, but I don't want to add another one. I want to update the existing one. And that's the reason why I showed you the revisions, because we'll see another revision go in there once I click this. So I'm going to click this button here. It's in update mode. So it generates the document again. And let's go now back into that table and let's take a look at the revision history. We can see that we updated that document. Instead of adding a new record into the documents table, we updated that one. And let's take a quick look at the difference between those. What I did was I included the code, and I'm going to blow this up a little bit, the code behind the buttons here. So as you can see with the two buttons here, all I had to do here's all of the repository related parameters. So basically this says generate the document the standard way, but store the document in a repository, specifying that it should be stored in the documents table. Here's the table alias for that documents table. This basically tells us how that table is related back to the projects table through field ID number 6. And here's the file attachment field that I want to update, which the file attachment field in that table happens to be field ID 8. And I want to use add mode. And right next to it, if you look, everything is the same, except you'll notice this is the only difference. So instead of doing an add, it's going to do an update. Now, if the document doesn't exist and you're in update mode, it'll add it. So you can always use update if you want it. Now we have one more option, and that's setting it up with a key. So in other words, what I did here is I'm going to add a key field. I'm going to grid edit this. Whoops. And I just don't know what that key value should be. Hold on one second. The key value should be the project name. So here it is. So I'm going to put in a value in here. Save this. So now when I generate this document, I want it to actually update a field, but I don't want to use the standard update. I want to actually use the update with a key instead of by the relationship. So let me go back in here now. So let's refresh this and make sure we didn't add a new record. So I still have only one record in this table. And you can see, actually I clicked the button twice, you can see That way I actually added it twice. I updated it twice. So again, instead of updating by the relationship, I updated with a key value. And to show how we did that, if you look at the URL field here, the difference now, it's blowing this up a bit here, is we have everything else is the same except we added 2 new lines here. We said, well, we still want to update, but we want to update. So basically we're adding another and to our where clause. We said we want to update it where the project's related to this project and where field ID 9 has the same value as our project name field does in our projects table. So that's how we can control what records to update in our repository table. So that's our repository demo. Let me go back. Okay, so multi-document generation. So we want to click one button and we want to generate more than one document. And we allow you to generate up to 50 documents at a time. We have a lot of customers that have need for more than 50 at a time, but we don't allow that in a web environment. So we ask that you subscribe to our ExactForms Plus batch processor, which works more than 50 documents in a lot more efficient manner. The documents that are going to be generated are controlled by either a report or a query. And when we're generating those documents, we'll update every record with a document. So it's not just generating all these documents and putting them in one. We'll actually update every record and generate an individual document for every record that's identified in the criteria to report on. And we have an optional option that allows you to merge them all together. So basically what we're doing is we're generating a bunch of individual PDF files for every record that's identified by the report or the query. And optionally, we can merge them into a final merged PDF file. So let's show you how we do that. Okay, so I'm going to go to my multi-record processing table here. So basically, I have a table that I'm using to kind of control all my batch processing. So I want to generate multiple documents in one button click. So I added a new record into this table, and I set this up to say, well, there's a report in my projects table, identifies my active projects. Let's go to that. So here's 6 documents, and I want to generate one file for every one of these, and then I want to merge them all together. So that's what will happen when I click this button here. But what I also want to do is I have this other file. It's a product sheet. So maybe I want to generate all these documents, and at the end I want to generate and I want to include this one additional PDF at the end. So I'm generating 6 documents plus a 7th, and I'm merging another document at the end. So I'm going to do that right now. And here's our progress user experience too. That kind of shows you what's happening. It's generating 3, it's generating 4, 5. You don't have to use this one, but I like using this one when you do a multi-record processing because you can see what's happening. So we generated the 6 documents, and we also at the end merged this other PDF in that document. So let's take a look at them. So here's my 6 project documents. There's project document number 1, there's number 2, and so on. And then we're going to go down to the very end. Here's 6. And then we included that PDF cell sheet at the end as well. Now, the other thing you can do is you don't have to do it with a report query. You can do it with an MS query. So you can actually build the query yourself. And I included the formula URL fields here so you can see what we're doing. But when we're doing merging, there's some key URL parameters that basically tell us that you want to merge. So it's basically saying that I want to do a merge, and I want to merge the document in using this table. So that's the table I'm on right now. So that's the DB ID of this table. This is the record that I want to bring the document back to when I'm finished merging them all. This is the name that I want to use for the documents. And then this is where the file attachment field that I want to store back at the end. I want to attach this special PDF back into this merged PDF. And the only difference between this one and the bottom one is here I'm controlling it with a report query, so that's query ID 56. Or I can build out the query. Instead of using a report query, I can say, well, this is actually rebuilding that query in let's say, the API query language here. So you can use either concept that will work. I think this one's a little bit simpler because you can build the report and control the filtering through the report. But I just wanted to show you that you can also use a little bit more advanced technique to build out your own MS query. Now, one other thing you can do with this that I didn't demo here is you can also, if you would have included something in the add files, let me blow that up. You can use a combination of add files and merge files. So add files would have added an attachment to every individual document created. That those 6 documents, we would have added an additional file, and in this one would have just included one file at the end of the entire merge. So you can use a combination of add files and merge files. Add files goes to the individual files, merge files goes to that one file that we merge at the end. I'm going to reset my Zoom. Okay, so that's on multi-record processing. Okay, so charts. This is something that we just kind of are finishing up or working on right now, so we can include pie charts and bar charts in our Exact Forms Plus documents. Not all chart types work just yet. We do pie charts and bar charts again, and one way that we reference them, and if you're familiar with referencing images in your document templates, instead of using the I, you're going to use the C, and it's going to be followed by the field ID of the chart field as well as sizing. And we also added width versus height, so you can include a width and a height now. And you also, the latest version of Exact Forms Plus uses that same concept too. So if you just include width, that's fine, but if you want, you can include both. So let's show how we can do charts. Okay, back to my project record. And I'm going to show charts. Okay, so these are the charts that are on the dashboard, but I just included them here as well, just to show you which charts I want to include in my generated document. So I'm just going to click a button here that's going to generate those charts. Okay, so here's my first chart. There's my second chart. And there's my third chart. So how do we do that? First, I'm going to take a look at the template. And the template is very simple. I'm opening up the Word template right here. Just pulling it over. That's all I have in the template is I'm referencing 3 separate fields. Nothing else in that. So let's go back and see some other fields that point to that. So really, this field here, and instead of hard coding in the template C134-500, I'm actually including it in a field here, and I'm referencing this field in the template instead. And the reason why I do this too is I could have just put that in the template, but I didn't want to do that. Just in case I wanted to play with sizing, I can change that here and not have to go and change my template all the time. So it's just another way of including something in the template that in a field here so that you can control it and you can test a little bit more efficiently. But really this field here is generated, the code behind this field, let me just blow this up a little bit. This field 34, I just wanted to show you what that looks like. It's a formula text field, and this is what it looks like. It's an image source, and it's basically going to the chart.aspx page, and it's pulling back for our realm the report 58, which is really a report that we generated. That's this report, and it's pulling it from this table here. So I can actually link to that report itself. If I link to the report, this is report number 58, and that's what it looks like, and it was created underneath the task table, and it's a task summary by project. But that's basically what we're doing here, is we're just building this out a little bit more on the cryptic side, but this is how we're passing the information into the chart so that the chart ASPX page can generate an image, and that's what this is showing here, which now I can take that image in Exact Forms Plus and embed it in the document. So I'm just showing you that how it was done for this one, but it was done the same for these other ones as well. So here's my This happens to be field 131, and I have a reference in here, so I'm referencing field 132, and that's what's being pushed into there, as well as the pie chart, same concept. So that's why the template could be very simple, and you put a little bit more complexity into the app itself, but you can have, this is a little bit nicer way of testing when you're working with these things. So that's our charting. So our configurator redesign, you actually saw a lot of it here during our demo. Why do we do it? I think obviously a lot of you know why. We have some bugs in our existing one. We know that. We're not obviously trying to hide that, but and we're taking an approach of the look and feel of the new one might not be fancy and pretty, but we want to focus on functionality first, and it's going to evolve and so on. But we also needed to make sure that we can support some of the new enhancements that we made to Exact Forms Plus to the configurator so that everybody can take advantage of them. So that's why we decided to redesign it and not go with that old design and go with a new design. The configurator will be available the end of March. I'm going to have a webinar just for the configurator, so it'll be focused just on how do we work within the configurator. We'll probably set that up in mid-March. And if you guys want to upgrade to the configurator or even to the new version of Exact Forms Plus, you can contact us at info@JuiceTech or through our phone numbers on our web pages. And the big question, is there a cost to upgrade? And the answer to that is no. The only caveat there is that as long as your account's up to date, meaning to our latest pricing structure, which is specified there, $40 a month for the first 500 documents in a single application. Each additional app is $20, and so on. As long as you're conforming to that, no problem. We'll upgrade you for no cost, and this way you can all take advantage of the new features and functionality. Some things that we're planning on within the next 6 months or so, we're working on including summary data. It's a challenge only because the API itself does not bring us back summary data. So we have to do a little bit of aggregation on our side, so it's a little bit of a challenge, but we want to do that. And pre-files, we want to add a way that you can, we showed you how you can append documents to an Exact Forms Plus generated document, but we've had some call for being able to take a document and stick it in front of the generated document as well as at the end. So we'll be working on that. And obviously feedback from you. Most of the features and functionality we build into Exact Forms Plus is directly driven by you guys. So we want more feedback and suggestions on how we can make Exact Forms Plus do more that you want it to do. And we also know that we have a little deficiency on our help site, so we'll be working on making sure that gets up to date and includes some of these new features and functionality that we have that we've shown you today. And basically to close here, obviously contact us to upgrade. We want to hear from you. We want to make sure that you can take advantage of all these new features that we've shown you here today. Don't forget about Empower. We hope to see you all at Empower again this year. We are a platinum sponsor. We have a promotional code where you can get $100 off your registration, as well as special offer from us. We're offering you 1 free month of any tool, up to $40 value. So even if you don't want to subscribe to any new tools, that's fine. If you're an existing customer, we'll give you credit for $40 for one of the months in June or July, as long as you use this code to register. And basically that's the presentation. That's the webinar. We're certainly open to listening to some questions. If you want to enter them through chat, I can read them out and then we can try to answer them. Or if you want to raise your hand and you don't want to type it in the chat, you can certainly send it to us. I can unmute you if you raise your hand. This, I did record this. I kind of started a little late. I probably missed a couple slides, but this presentation will be available to everyone. So I will send it out through the GoToWebinar follow-up email that goes out, so you have a link to it. As well as, again, you'll have access to this application that we're going to expose to everyone. Questions, comments?
Questions. There are so many.
Okay, I'm just looking through some of the questions now. I had the chat open, but I didn't see the questions. Let's see. I can't see this. This is hard. Where can we find notes for today? We're going to send them out through an email, follow-up email. That's the only. Let's see. Sorry, the GoToWebinar, the question thing is a little difficult to expand. Okay. Yeah, there's one question about it would be nice if the document was refreshed after it's created. We understand that that's an issue that's been around for a while. It's hard to really issue a refresh. We'll be looking to see if there's something we can do about that. Let's see what else we got here. Can you save to the repository functionality with the DocuSign add-on? Good question. I don't, because of we certainly can. You can save to the repository. We would just have to set up the DocuSign, send to DocuSign button and all of the other surrounding fields on that repository table. So the answer is really yes, we can do that. We would just have to change the setup. If you're already set up to use DocuSign, we would just have to change it a little differently. Okay, with regard to footers on a document template, I have a client that would like terms and conditions as well as signatures of contract to always appear right after the subtable report on the exact form. They do not want a separate page for this. However, when a subtable report becomes lengthy, it pushes the table of contents down, or the terms and conditions down, and tends to break it up. Can they be placed in the footer of the template? Not sure, because the footer, it's kind of limited to the size. I think maybe we'd have to take that one offline to see if we can do that. PowerPoints, I will be distributing the PowerPoint slides. I'm probably gonna, what I'll do is I'll put a link into the application itself. Someone asked for the PowerPoint slides. I'll put a link to that demo app right on the dashboard so that you can view the slides from there. And there was a question about controlling sizes of images. The only thing we can do is give you a width and a height. We don't have the ability to auto resize any images that come in if they're, let's say 5 meg, 10 meg. We don't do any physical sizing of them. We just do the virtual sizing of those files. The new app, the demo app, I'll probably make it available to everyone. If not by the end of today, I'll make it available by tomorrow. Okay, I think that's most of the questions here. Again, we got 4 minutes left. I can certainly take any questions offline. You can email us at info@juicedtech.com, or you can give us a phone call at the phone number that's shown on the screen right now. I certainly appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules, and we look forward to working with you guys even further. Thank you.